Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Look at this room, motherfuckers! We ain't going anywhere! Political structures that I have to work in, that we all are surrounded by, was built on slavery and genocide and rape and oppression. Real change doesn't come from the cowards and warmongers in Congress. It comes from the streets. It comes from all of us mobilizing and seizing the power to resist and fight back. Gaza is the compass in this country. Now we're in Congress, and we're every corner of the United States.
Welcome back to Truth Thursday, folks. The Rob Maness Show's live on World YouTube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, do you hear the wailing alarm sirens of impending attacks? Credible domestic threats are being broadcast against America's military logistics systems. You just saw a sitting U.S. Congresswoman openly calling for an uprising against us, the American people that still believe in the Declaration and the Constitution. The conference she is speaking to is the People's Conference for Palestine, and people in the group from the Palestinian Youth Movement just last weekend in Detroit, Michigan. She said, and I quote, "We need to mobilize and resist and seize the power from this country," close quote, quote, "Now we are in Congress," close quote, in case you missed the tail end of that clip. What happened there is not just rhetorical. In the military, we have an old saying, amateurs talk tactics, but professionals study logistics to win wars. And I'm going to show you that discussion at the conference in Detroit. Friends, that the United States saw tens of thousands of potential Islamists let in through our southern border during the Biden committee years, and the Afghanistan refugee flow from the botched withdrawal gives me pause, and should you too. Based on what we're seeing and hearing, we are at high risk of a significant homeland attack by Islamic jihadists that will exceed 9/11 and the October 7th attacks in Israel exponentially. All Americans should be at an elevated state of alertness, in my opinion. And my guest today is a man that wrote the book, If It Takes 1,000 Years. Former Army Captain Jesse Petria has traveled worldwide on fact-finding missions, researching the mindset of these jihadists and the policies that enable them. He has served as a civilian advisor to the U.S. Department of State and was a liaison officer in the Army to the Afghan secret police, facilitating the interrogations of over 400 captured Taliban and Al-Qaeda members, all Islamic jihadists. Jesse, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here, sir.
I got to tell you, my friend, the first time I interviewed you, it was about your book, and we were talking about at least the recent past, not the present or the future, in the sense that I asked you to come on this show at very short notice today. Thank you very much for coming on. What do you, I just got to ask you, what do you think? You've seen probably more of Tlaib's speech than most have in Detroit. What are you thinking?
Well, she says Gaza is the compass, and if Gaza is the compass, I would hate to see the map. I mean, they have a map that they've redrawn for us. You know, jihadists only believe there are two lands in the world. They call it Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb. Dar al-Islam is the land that's conquered, that's under Sharia law. Dar al-Harb is the land of war. That's where we live. And so they are trying by any means necessary to conquer us in the West. And while the people that the congresswoman and other leaders on that side are speaking to are very smart. They know exactly what they're doing. The people they're talking to are the useful idiots. They're the kids that are saying, free, free Palestine, yeah, and thinking that they're queers for Palestine movement and whatever have you, that the what is it, that handmaiden's outfit that they love to wear, different things that they like to play virtue signaling with, that all that's going to fly under Sharia law. They're completely ignorant, and they're being used by these people every day to achieve, these people being the jihadists, to achieve this ultimate goal of establishing a global caliphate. So it all plays into the plans of our enemies. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of kids these days that are not raised with patriotic values, that do not have the armor that they need to prepare them for the onslaught that is ahead.
Yeah, somebody asked me where this all ends if we don't change policies to address it. And I said, well, it ends at the end of the barrels of our AR-15s in a bloody fight. Because I don't think regular Americans will eventually they will stand up. They'll fight back.
Well, that's the thing. Wait. I mean, I hope that I pray that it never comes to that our children will not have to endure such a hardship. But my wife, she's from the former Yugoslavia. She lived through the Civil War, where you had Muslims uprising in Bosnia and elsewhere in Kosovo, saying, no, we want our own country now. And I mean, the fact is that just what is it, less than 11 years earlier, they were all sitting singing Kumbaya at the Olympics there in Sarajevo, and nobody imagined that country would be tearing themselves apart a decade later. And we're not immune. Humans are humans. We are a warlike creature, and unfortunately, when you have a lot of weak people, we have very weak people in government. We have, thankfully, President Trump is trying to fix that, but there's still the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of the bureaucracy is very weak. And you still have a lot of weak politicians. I mean, I wouldn't say that Tlaib is weak. I mean, she's strong on the other side, but you have weak people that will open the door for her and others as well. And unfortunately, when you have an environment like what we have, not just here but in the West, you see it in particular in Europe, where you have a very, very weak society that let all these people in through lax immigration, through thinking that all cultures are equal. They let these people in, and then like frogs being boiled, they slowly get destroyed. But in America, to your point, I have full faith in the American hillbilly. I think that if things get too far out, you'll have people coming out of the woodwork that we don't want necessarily to come out of the woodwork, but it would definitely correct if the Constitution were to ever be overthrown, you'd have a lot of people that would come out and restore it. So I have full faith that it's protected. There's guys like you and I, military officers, who have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution. And I got to tell you, I own a couple acres, and I told my wife when we bought it, I said, these 2 acres will always be under the Constitution, or we will be dead. Either way, we're always going to live under the Constitution. So there's a lot of people like you and I who have pledged to defend it, and I think including members of the law enforcement community that wouldn't stand by if the Constitution were destroyed. And so I do have faith in the long term. It doesn't mean it wouldn't get ugly, but before it gets to that, I think the game changer is the internet. Now we see what these people are doing. We see the craziness, like what we saw on display at that Palestinian Youth Movement conference, where you have people openly trying to subvert our society and calling for sabotage and what have you. I don't know. Are you going to get into that?
We're gonna play that clip, one of those clips, at the opening of the next segment. We got a question from the audience already, which is a good sign. They're very interested in this, and I agree with you. It's time to change policies now And we'll talk more about that before it gets to all that into the barrel of my AR-15. But that's what it'll come to if we don't. I totally agree with you. AJ, go ahead. No, go ahead, Shell.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you, Colonel. My question is, in the recent past, in the UK, they actually went ahead with this. If you remember, there was the RAF base that they had broken into, which, I mean, it didn't end well for them. But the point being, as you have alluded earlier, that the people hearing this messaging are incompetent enough to actually follow through. And there is a precedent for it already in the UK. How do you see this unfolding in the States outside of it's absolutely suicidal to do so?
You're talking? How do I see the if somebody engages in domestic sabotage or in subversion of our country? How do I see it unfolding? Is that your question?
Correct.
Well, I think what's happening, you do have a lot of people. The big problem is you have kids right now that lack purpose. And so they try to find their purpose in anything. And they're very naive, as most kids are. I mean, let's face it, between age 18 and 25, kids' brains are mush. And so if you don't have them serving in the military, if you don't have them working a hardworking job, I mean, they're gonna be looking for purpose in something. So when you have whether it's trust fund kids or kids from a messed up background, which a lot of people on the left are from, they're dealing with mental health issues, unquestionably. They're gonna find purpose in the wrong places, and so you have people who are now giving them purpose, as hollow as it may be, such as the Palestinian cause. Or this really isn't anything new. It started with the baby boomers. I mean, you had the generation of the kids that lived through the Great Depression, who then were asked as late teenagers to go storm the beaches of Normandy and fight and destroy the Nazis and the Japanese Empire. They came back. They built the interstate. They put a man on the moon. These are people that had purpose, and you didn't see them protesting for nonsense and wondering what bathroom to use or what pronouns they were going to call each other. And so then they raised a generation of spoiled brats. And so you have this generation that was given everything, which our economy was booming in the 1950s. They came back. Everyone was energized. They really didn't have any hardships. And so you have this entire generation, with the exception of a handful of veterans that fought in Vietnam and a few others, but it's the minority. Most of them were they lived pretty cush lives, and they didn't really feel purposeful. And so then they started pushing themselves into what purpose they could get. And so you had the 1960s revolution, where you did have some legitimate issues, such as the civil rights movement, which the Democrats filibustered, by the way. You have other laws that we as a society were able to push through that were legitimate causes. But then it's done. It's like, okay, we have achieved the most equal society we have ever had, not just in the last 250 plus years here in America, but I would say in the world. I mean, this is really a time where we're all working together. We're as divisive as the media plays it out or tries to divide us. The reality is that we're pretty darn united. If I'm walking down the street, somebody walks by me, I'm not looking at them and saying, "Oh, what tribe are you from?" or "Oh, what do you your great-great-grandfather did this to me, to my great-great-grandfather." I mean, there's things that humans have fought over in the last millennia that just we have overcome. And so now you have the baby boomers are remembering the spark of the 60s. They're trying to get it back. So you look at these rallies, and there's a big big difference where you have people over 70 usually and people under 25, and not a whole lot in between. And I think our generation, I guess I'm Gen X. I was born in 1983, so I guess I'm right there. But it was our society. I turned 18 just a few months before 9/11 happened. And so my generation, that was all I knew as a grown-up, that this is our enemy. We have real threats out there. And that was the first enemy that I knew as an adult. And a lot of us went to serve overseas after that. We stepped up. I mean, we all remember on 9/12 that patriotism where flags were going on the cars and everyone felt united. And I think that sentiment has really had a profound impact on our generation, and it kicked the can down the road. And I think that's why you don't see so many 40-year-olds that are in those rallies. You see mostly kids and baby boomers. And so the thing is with the baby boomers, they're trying to get that spark back. They're trying to find purpose. They're carrying the Palestinian flags and thinking just whatever they could grasp their hands at, whether it's climate change or what have you. They're looking for purpose. And the kids are the same way. They're very naive. Unfortunately, the baby boomers have run our schools for the last 20, 30 years. And so you see now they're getting to the next generation, trying to indoctrinate them as well. I don't know if it's going to be, I'm a little more optimistic. I don't know if it's really going to stick. I think, unfortunately, we'll still see it continue in that generation. Obviously, when they start working and paying taxes, just naturally, a lot more will become more conservative. Unfortunately, we know where things are going. It's cyclical. Good times make weak men. So you know how that line goes. And so it's like hard times create strong men create good times, and there we are. Good times create weak men. So the next is weak men create hard times. And so we know what's going to happen next. It's cyclical. Buy silver, buy ammunition, and just wait it out. Learn how to grow your own crops. I mean, we got to be able to survive for a few years through whatever hardship they throw at us, but we'll get through it as a nation. And I think we'll come out stronger. I really do. I think it's unfortunate that, we're going to have to go through a hardship in order for strong men to be bred.
It's the smart kids in this generation of the kids you were talking about that I'm worried about. And after this break, we'll see a clip from this conference supporting Hamas from a kid that's a really smart kid. Unfortunately, she's on the wrong side. I'll be right back with Jesse Patria.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
Is that 70% of the cost of the F-35 program actually comes from the supply chain. 70% of this $2 trillion that goes into the supply chain is literally because they need to transport the different components of the F-35 to different locations to assemble them. And what's really important for us to know is that the F-35 supply chain functions off of this just-in-time logistics process. It's called this, it's an inventory management system, and it's called just-in-time, which means that it delivers the goods right before they're needed. And it's also noted that for an F-35, for every 1 hour of flight, it actually needs 3 hours of maintenance. So what I'm saying to y'all is that if one specific node of the F-35 supply chain is intervened in, it has a huge impact on our people back home. And so we've really developed a methodology, and then I hope that we can get into this and we can talk about it a bit more through this panel. But what's important for us to know here is that the more that we know, the more that we can do. Knowledge is really power here. And we need to be surgical. We need to be strategic, and we need to be bold in our actions. Because there are many different points of these supply chains of death that we can intervene in, and we must intervene in.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday. That was Aisha Nazar of the Palestinian Youth Movement here in America, in Detroit, Michigan, at the People's Conference for Palestine, that Rashida Tlaib also spoke at, calling for not just an insurrection, not just a revolution, but a complete overthrow of America as we know it. And that young lady is very smart. Back when I was a colonel in the Air Force at the Pentagon as a lieutenant colonel, that's the type of individual that I would want working for me in the intelligence analysis shop, because she has a very firm understanding of supply chain and logistics. And my guest today is Jesse Patria, author of If It Takes 1,000 Years. Jesse's interrogated or facilitated the interrogation of over 400 jihadists in Afghanistan in his career. He understands Islamism. He understands the infection that Sharia law is and Islamism is, that it's not a religion. It's a conquering form of government. And Miss Aisha there, she used the word y'all, but she talked about impacting our people back home. Now, she may be from the South here somewhere. I live in Mississippi, that she used the word y'all, even though she was in Detroit. But she's talking about her people in the Middle East. And that's why she wants to disrupt the F-35 supply chain. It's a very interesting discussion. And Jesse, I wanted to get your overall thoughts on that clip, first of all, and then let's get into a discussion about the vulnerabilities that we're facing right now in this country.
Absolutely. Well, I looked up Ms. Nazar. It looks like she was arrested in 2024 for blocking the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And I looked into what happened to that, as she was only given 5 hours of community service. That was her sentence. And it was in exchange for that they would drop the charges if she does 5 hours of community service. It was they snarled the bridge for about 4 hours. It says her and a group of her activists, and so it looks like San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins was the one that agreed to dismiss the charges in exchange for community service for all of those protesters. So there's a lot of useful idiots out there that don't crack down on it, but on this sort of activity. But what she did there, and also in another video that I posted on my X page, she targets Maersk. She said Maersk is a target, and so she's openly inciting terrorism. From that's what I take from it. It looks like, and it'll be up to the Department of Justice and the FBI because we need to pressure them to go investigate this and prosecute it, because this is a fifth column. I mean, this is something that she's saying it openly, but how many are not? That's what's scary. But when we have somebody openly saying, hey, we're trying to sabotage your supply chain of your military and you're in our borders, guess what? You're going to get a visit from the FBI. So I encourage the listeners, I posted this, I tagged the FBI Director Kash Patel and Pam Bondi in there. If everyone can go to my X, it's just Jesse Petrilla. You can retweet that tweet that tags the FBI. Even tag them again. Let's keep the pressure on them. This is something they need to investigate. You can, if you do a quote tweet, you can tag as many FBI and DOJ accounts as you can, because I want people to look into this. I was very happy in doing some research this morning to see that Tom Cotton actually caught wind of it, thanks to social media, and he sent a letter to the FBI as well. So there will be somebody looking into it, but we need to make sure, because remember who's there. Even though we have good people, great people at the top, there are still a lot of bureaucrats who don't want to stick their head out of the cubicle and don't want to make real work for themselves. This is real work. This is a bad guy that's in our borders and that's doing bad things, and this is the job of the FBI. If somebody is making credible threats, we need to have our law enforcement investigated and prosecute. And so I think, unfortunately, we can look at what the FBI was doing in previous years. If you recall, they were wasting their agents' time investigating parents at school board meetings who were protesting against transgender policies and things like that. And so it's a big waste of time of the bureaucrats, but that's what they like. I when I volunteered with the State Department, that was one of the biggest realizations. I went to Africa with them on an event that was supposed to be for it was through the United Nations for bringing connectivity to Africa, connecting the unconnected, and everything. I get there, it's a telecommunications United Nations event that's supposed to be for that, and. They gave us the briefing. They said, okay, I want you guys on the American delegation to focus on LGBTQ plus awareness, gender equality, climate change. And I was like, whoa, what? This is a telecom conference. Why we're supposed to be connecting the 2 billion people that don't have cell phone coverage or internet. And oh, no, we need to focus on these things that are all not related. And I came to the realization that it's really, I don't think it's some cabal of people that are trying to destroy. There are certainly people trying to do that, but I think the majority of the people that are causing problems are bureaucrats that are sitting in their cubicle, shuffling paperwork around, trying to justify their job, and just making up smoke and mirrors so that they don't actually have to do something. And so it really. It is a big problem, and it's very dangerous because they're all just trying to find ways to expand the bureaucracy, and so we keep funding it. But this is something that's real, and we need to put pressure whenever we see stuff. I think it really is. It shows how important it is that citizens stay vigilant, that we make sure that we have the right people in the FBI from top to bottom, and that aren't preoccupied with nonsense. And so if we keep their feet to the fire, so please go to my X, retweet that, and comment on it. Try to tag the FBI and DOJ. But I mean, that's it. But again, she's young. She looks, I don't know, early 20s probably. I don't. This is somebody who, I don't know. Maybe in the future she'll wake up and be another Walid Shubat or a son of Hamas, one of these people that's like, hey, you know what? I was wrong. I don't know. We just, but I mean, one can hope people can change in America. But she's born here. Looks like she's on the wrong track. She's rallying people up. I'd love to see them when this comes out, because I think it will. When she gets investigated, because she just threw herself out there right now as she is. And I was trying to find her. She has no social media presence that I can find. There's a bunch of articles. All that I could find is stuff about her Palestinian activism. But who is this person? I mean, it's like we don't know. Where did she come from? And who's behind her? Who's funding her group? These are questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, it's very interesting. What got my attention on her is the professionalism of her presentation and her depth of knowledge on the logistics system as associated with a specific weapon system like the F-35. Of course, the Israeli Air Force is using the F-35 to great effect in Iran and Gaza and Lebanon and Syria.
It'd be interesting to find out if Iran is feeding her that information. Where it's coming from? Is she a foreign agent? I don't know. I mean, these are questions that we need to get answered.
She sounds way too professional. And remember, I was a 17-year-old EOD technician, and I was very good at that, or I wouldn't have been able to become an officer. So she's very good at whatever it is she's doing. We need to find out. Shell, put that in the X hole on the post there and tag some folks, including Joe Kent of the NCTC, the National Counterterrorism Center. He's the newly confirmed director over there. That'd be a good one too if Jesse, if you didn't tag him already. All right, we got to take another break. When we come back, we'll see another logistics clip because what Aisha was talking about is not new. We'll be right back with Jesse Petrilla.
The businessman from Texas that spent years trying to bring the perfect red heifers to Israel is coming to speak in Collierville, Tennessee, outside of Memphis, on Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. They now have sacrificed one of those red heifers. There it is burning. They've now gained 10 gallons of ashes. Why do they need this? Well, the Old Testament, Numbers chapter 19, says that for the purification ceremony, for their temporary tabernacle or full-time temple, they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer. This is the first time this has happened in over 2,000 years. The story is going global. It's highly controversial. In fact, there's even a connection between the attacks on Israel on October 7th and these 5 red heifers. Come and hear him speak live in person, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Full details, worldviewstore.com, and to get your tickets, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com.
Another attack on the military logistics system of the United States right here at home by Americans that are supporting the Hamas Nazis and the Palestinians that live in the Gaza Strip. They are aiding and abetting terrorism when they do that. And that was long before the clip from Miss Aisha about how to disrupt the F-35 supply chain and why it's so important to do that. I suspect that she may have been in on this one too. My guest today is Jesse Petrilla. He is the author of If It Takes 1,000 Years, and the 1,000 years is what jihadists told him they would do because they said we will win, even if it takes 1,000 years. And Jesse, I just wanted to show that it's not just about the F-35, that everybody that understands warfare should be paying attention to this. And the average American really needs to be on alert now. You mentioned that before because, you know, if that young lady, she's not a naive 20-year-old. She may be in her early 20s, but she's certainly not naive. She's been trained. She's either self-trained or probably professionally trained on how to analyze a system, especially a military logistics system like the F-35s. And when I saw the clip, I said, well, let me take a look at what the internet says. So I went to good old Grok here on X, and I said, hey, I live in Gulfport, Mississippi. How much of the F-35 supply chain is in the state of Mississippi? And it came right up. There's 2 factories. One of them, they even said what part that it made. And where it was located. The second one, the location was a little bit more difficult to find, but it came right up immediately. You know, those are that's the kind of information being developed there and then being talked about openly that kind of surprised me a little bit. But the depth of professionalism and knowledge, that is really impressive. And as you said, though, and here's where I want to go with this question is, that she doesn't have a social media presence. That also gives me an inkling of intelligence operations or operational work being done. Because if I was still in the military doing that kind of work, I would have no social media presence either. Your
That's
thoughts?
exactly it. Yeah, that's one of the signs too of that it struck me as well that if somebody's in intelligence, the first thing you do is delete all your all your social media presence. You scrub it, and so that was an interesting thing. It made me question her a little bit more. But I'm sure the truth will come out. Let's keep the pressure on it. Retweet that tweet. I mean, it's if you haven't already, please do go to my X. Also, give me a follow too if you can, and retweet the and tag the FBI, tag your congressman too, tag as many people as you can. I mean, we need to get this thing far and wide and put the pressure on the FBI to do their job and look into this, because she is making what looks like credible incitement to terrorism, domestic terrorism, sabotage, and not only that. I mean, when she mentioned Maersk, I cringed. The first thing I thought of was the USS Cole. And you have very real threats that to our society that these people are pushing for. So there's a lot of crazy people on that side searching for purpose. I do talk about it in my book. I talk about so if you haven't picked it up, please also pick up a copy of If It Takes 1,000 Years. The audiobook actually comes out on September 16th. So just another couple weeks. I got a fantastic voice actor that my publisher hired to read it, way better than I would have done. He did a fantastic job on it. And so please go ahead and put that in your pre-orders, your pre-saves, what have you. It's on all of the major audiobook networks, all the platforms. But I do have a chapter in there, chapter 8, that talks about the tools of jihad and how they operate. And a lot of it's online. A lot of it is really, but primarily they try to get to kids, and that's the big thing. It's not just their kids; it's mainly their kids, but it's ours as well. They have done a phenomenal job. They including, I would say, regime elements like the Iranian regime and others who have. It used to be Saudi Arabia, but it's not so much anymore. Saudis have really. There's still a lot of financing coming from the peninsula, but not from the government itself. But what they do is they try to get into our kids' minds, and these are very ripe minds for manipulation. Everybody's seeking for purpose, as we talked about in the previous segment. Particularly, the baby boomers are still trying to grasp onto the what's left of the afterglow of the 60s, and the kids right now are just. They're looking for purpose. There's no real hardships. There's no wars out there, none that we're fighting anyway. There's really not a lot going on. You can push a button and get a pizza, and you go into the poorest neighborhoods in America, and they've all got flat screen TVs and cars, and it really is a different time than what the greatest generation grew up in. I mean, during the Depression, they called them Hoovervilles, where you had these homeless encampments where you had normal people living in there that lost their job. And now we have what I call Newsomevilles, where you have these drug infested homeless encampments of just drug addicts and crazy people. But yes, Newsomevilles is the term that I'm trying to get people to use for a homeless encampment. But that's the thing, is you've got kids now that are very spoiled, that have everything. There aren't the only homeless people out there really are drug addicts. It's not something that's really that we see in big waves of regular people. So there's so many jobs. There's a lot of opportunity, and they're looking around. They don't want to work. They don't want to do hard work. They're lazy. I'm hearing from so many people in management that the new crop, even in the military, the new crop of recruits coming in is nothing like it used to be. Everything is racist. They don't want to do anything. It's got to change. And the reality is that people we're so busy because things are so expensive, and we have. Most parents are working. Both parents are working in a lot of at least out in California and a lot of places, just to keep up with all this crazy abundance that we have. But we're forgetting the kids. We're letting the public institutions raise them, and they're being indoctrinated. And the reality is that it comes down to us as parents. We've got to raise our kids with patriotic values, to give them the armor that they need to endure what they're being attacked with. And as a Christian, I was just talking about it in my men's Bible study group this morning. We were talking about the armor of God, and how every morning it's like, look, we put on the armor of God, and it's mentioned in the Bible how it's like, look, as a Christian, when you're a believer, you have that armor of God. And I tell my kids this. I'm like, look, don't take things personally. Don't let people affect you. Don't believe their lies. Don't let them control you. Put on the armor of God, because every day you step out there, you're going to be bombarded by the enemy. And so when you have that firm foundation in faith, and you know that you were made by God, that everyone was made by God, and that he made them on purpose, he made you on purpose for a purpose, you're not going to be, once you accept that, you're not going to be marching, carrying a Palestinian flag, or wearing a silly outfit, or pretending you're something you're not, or virtue signaling for someone. And so, unfortunately, the left has really, over the last several decades, been very effective at destroying the institutions that help instill a sense of patriotism, of God, of national honor in our country. You look at the Boy Scouts, what happened to it. You look at Pledge of Allegiance in school. You look at all these different things that they're trying to chip away at. And then you have these kids that are very impressionable that don't have that armor, and they're telling them, oh, you can be a girl now if you're a boy, or vice versa. You can, everybody is a winner, and it's like everybody's gonna. It's like, no, I mean, they need to experience different things that will help them grow. They need to experience failure. They need to overcome failure. They need people to guide them. They don't need to be told that they can do whatever they want and without consequences. And unfortunately, now we're seeing that effect. And so you see these kids. This would have been unthinkable on college campuses. These kids protesting in favor of Hamas. It would have been unthinkable after 9/11. I mean, imagine 20 years ago having college campuses 24 years ago protesting in favor of Al Qaeda. I mean, can you imagine that? It would be unheard of. But now it's like, okay, maybe you would see that. And now, I mean, Hamas is the new Al Qaeda. I mean, you have you have all these different terrorist groups that are out there that are whether it's ISIS or Hamas or Hezbollah or Al Qaeda. They all have the same goal. They all have the West in their sights. In fact, there was another I found a quote. I didn't write it down, but I was looking through this group that this Aisha lady has. She's a kid, but this girl has. And the Palestinian Youth Movement, and there was a quote on there that was very telling, where she said, "This is not." When they were interviewing people on the bridge that she helped block, the Bay Bridge, one of the protesters said, "This is not about Hamas. This goes beyond that. This is a movement that doesn't have to do with the Palestine conflict. This is not about Palestine," she said. This is a movement of the people." And it's like, okay, it goes to show this is not about Israel. This is something that goes well beyond that. They want to destroy the Constitution. They want to destroy the West. And these people are being manipulated to help the jihadists in that goal. And it's very scary.
Yeah, it is very scary. We're going to take our last break, Jesse. But to your point, I see this as a much larger construct that includes Islamism along with Marxism, that old red-green axis that some folks have written very eloquently about, and they're using that as not a cover, but as an incubator for the revolution. Whatever the revolution is, it's always about the revolution. It's never about the thing or the current thing, and that's what we have to remember. And we'll talk some more with Jesse Petrilla after this break.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most.
Once you have the World ViewTube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the World ViewTube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the World ViewTube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
And figure out how, if I really want to bring about change and bring about a more adaptable culture.
Up on your feet, up on your feet.
Hey, Gio.
Yeah.
Gio. Behind me.
We need your donations for the people in the swim seas. Stop volunteer. Stop building kingdom.
All right.
Stop volunteer. Stop prevailing fear. Stop building.
How wonderful, Mr. Secretary, to live in a country where people are allowed to speak their mind, ask questions of their governments, because in fact, the adversaries we're up against, whether they're the genocidal communists in Beijing or the Salafi jihadists in the Middle East, don't allow such luxuries of their own citizens. So apologies for the interruption.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday here on World ViewTube Network. And, that little clip there, my guest and I are going to talk about that. But there's some things in it you need to pay attention to. And my guest is Jesse Patria. And Jesse, the words the woman was yelling wasn't about Palestine, even though they were waving the Palestinian flag up there. It was stop Palantir. Stop Palantir, over and over and over again. Why would they be doing that while waving the Palestinian flag and supporting the Hamas people? I think your mute's on.
My mic was muted there. Sorry about that. It goes down to what's scary about it is that they all seem to parrot the same thing when if you've noticed this, that and I think it's what they're being told is the target of the day. I mean, that's what's ridiculous is you see them all of a sudden they're saying, okay, let's target this group. Let's start yelling about this. Oh, down with this guy, down with that. And it's like, they're all marching to the same drum. And that's what's creepy is you see them getting their talking points. And if yesterday it was Halliburton and today it's or before it was KBR and I mean all these different defense contractors they're targeting and it's really a strange thing. Now, what is that the AI company that she was targeting?
It is the AI company. I think one of their corporate officers was just made one of those direct commissions as a lieutenant colonel to help with development, weapon system development. They're involved. They're a defense contractor too. They're already involved as a defense contractor.
But like, what on earth does that have to do with it? They're grasping at straws. They're trying to find it comes down to because it's stupid. I mean, they're trying to mess with the stock of that company. Probably they're trying to just do different things to feel like they're purposeful. These are lost souls who don't feel purposeful, and then I mean that's what's creepy is you have people that do have a purpose. The jihadists, they know what they're doing, and they come out and you have this army of useful idiots. I mean, it's just totally scary. It's really ridiculous. And I mean, it's just, I mean, think about during World War II. Imagine if you had people jumping on stage protesting against defense contractors that were engaged in the fight in Japan or in Germany. And I mean, waving Nazi flags. And I mean, it's just completely, ridiculous, and they say, "Oh no, it has nothing to do with it's about the children. It's about they try to tug at the heartstrings of these people. It's about the poor people of Gaza, and it's like, yeah, well, I mean, it is sad. It's a war. I mean, people die in wars, but the Israelis aren't the ones that started it. And I mean, I got an argument with a liberal the other day because I posted something that was quite funny. This woman that was wearing, this outfit that they like to wear, the Handmaid's Tale, the red outfit with the bonnet. Yeah. And they like to do it for their alleged women's rights that are being allegedly eroded. And so and she's wearing that while with a keffiyeh draped around her, holding a Palestinian flag. And it's like, wow. Okay, so you're protesting for women's rights while protesting for a society that oppresses women. It's like, is she practicing with that handmaid's outfit for the burqa? I mean, I don't know. It really seems it's like there is. Yeah,
that's not as bad as Queers for Palestine, where they hang them from cranes and rooftops.
But that's just it. I mean, you have just these people grasping at whatever they can get to feel purposeful, and it's really sad. I mean, it really is. These are lost souls, and I think it's twofold. We've got to address the enemy, and then we've got to. It's not so much about defeating the onslaught of our adversaries, because that will always happen. We will always have enemies at the gates. But what we've got to do is protect what we've got. That's what I talk about in the latter third of my book, If It Takes 1,000 Years, available on Amazon and where books are sold everywhere. But if you want to get a firm understanding of what they think, how they operate, If It Takes 1,000 Years, the audiobook is coming out in a couple weeks if you want to pre-save that. But in the latter third of it, I talk about what we can do, and a spoiler alert, it really isn't so much, like I said, about defeating them. It's about protecting what we've got. And because when we have a generation of patriotic kids, and when we have good policies, particularly immigration policies in place, we will stand a chance, and we will persevere. And I think you can look at what bad policies and what very liberal societies have brought on. We don't have to look far. We could just look to Europe, and you can see the videos that are coming out of there, how the society is changing. And I've got several chapters actually in the book about my experiences in Europe. I interviewed Geert Wilders, one of the members of parliament in the Netherlands. I interviewed a deputy mayor of Paris, different people that just is okay, what's going on? And I put it all in the book. And so it really, and this was crazy. I first went to Europe in 2009 when I interviewed Geert Wilders, and he was telling me about what happened there. And it really started with more or less open immigration. That's what really triggered the beginning of the downfall. And then it was perpetuated by these bleeding hearts, this sounds very familiar, who expanded the welfare system in Europe.
That's right.
Where they said, you know what, let's throw money at this problem. We got all these poor immigrants here. Let's just give them a whole bunch of money. Because that sounds like a sure way to fix the problem, right? Throw money at it. And so, but I'll tell you, the surest way to encourage people not to integrate into a society is to give them money and build a bureaucracy of helpers that ensures whose jobs depend on these people staying dependent. And so it's really, it's mind-boggling that anyone could think this is a solution. But unfortunately, we're seeing the same thing in America, where you have this for 4 years, we had open borders. We had people throwing money at them. We had bureaucrats helping them. And they even had an app, this stupid app where it's like, oh, make an appointment to show up at the border. And then it's like, I mean, you had ridiculous stuff. And then you have all these bleeding hearts that need purpose that are saying, oh, these poor people, let's give them some help. And it's like, yeah, sure, these are hardworking folks that, for the most part, that wanted a better life to come to America. But in with them were a lot of people who were not so good. And it's like, and the millions of people that came through, even if it's only 10% that are bad apples, that's a heck of a lot of people. And there were only 19 hijackers that carried out 9/11. So
it only took 19. That's a great point here just before 9/11. Let's take one question from the audience before we get to the end of the show. Go ahead, Shel.
We have Liz, sir.
Good afternoon, Colonel. guest. I don't know to call you Mr. Petrilla because I'm a little older than you. But anyway, my question is, with the conference that they had, to me, being military and being the daughter of a 32-year Marine, I saw that as sedition, insurrection, and everybody there in that room should have been arrested and deported if possible. Now, and I understand freedom of speech. I do understand that. I serve for that. But this goes beyond freedom. Is it not freedom of speech anymore? When is it called sedition and insurrection, verbal insurrection, and incitement? When do we start doing that?
Well, that's why that just goes to the point where we need to have the FBI and the DOJ look into these people, look at what they said, because it's obvious to us here, yourself and Colonel Maness, that and to most of the listeners, that what they said is incitement to terrorism. What they said is incitement to sabotage. There are, my spidey senses just tell me, listening to it, that there were laws violated. And so it's up to the investigators at the DOJ and the FBI to determine which laws, which statutes were broken. I'm not a lawyer. That's the job of the investigator. And we need to keep the pressure when we hear stuff like that, forward it to law enforcement. Put the pressure saying, what are you going to do about it? Forward it to politicians. That's why, like I said, I just checked the Twitter. I see a lot of you have retweeted the video on my X. Thank you very much. And also, if you haven't done it, please go to my X at Jesse Petrilla and retweet that video of her inciting people to terrorism and tag the FBI. Say, what are you going to do about it? Are you investigating this? Keep the pressure on it, because these bureaucrats, aside from the leaders who are really trying to get the job done, they don't want to work. They just want to shovel stuff off their. A lot of them do. I shouldn't say they as a blanket, because there are an awful lot of good people in the FBI and Department of Justice. But there's a lot of them that they're like, I don't know. I don't want to chase every lead if it's not necessarily credible. But this one looks. I mean, she's inciting a room full of people who, number one, you know that virtually everybody there is looking for something to do, to feel purposeful. Exactly. And you've got number two. The room, I would think that virtually 100% suffer from mental health issues. They probably all have mental health issues, or else they wouldn't be there at a conference supporting Hamas. And so it's like these are. I mean, unless you are a Palestinian that is actually from Gaza, there is no reason for them to be there. I mean, it's like if you're. Either way, I could understand like a Palestinian going there saying, "Hey, let's solve this problem. There's a war going on. Let's get together and figure it out." But I mean, for a purple-haired liberal kid to show up and put on a keffiyeh, and I mean, we saw that video of the twerking girl on the flotilla. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is very viral. You see that it's a party. They're playing music. She's dancing. She's got her bare midriff. It's like, this is a party for them. It's a social event. These protests are social because they don't go to church. They don't have other sources of good, wholesome social interactions. They probably, they just hang out and tell each other how great and virtuous they are for supporting these poor Palestinians. And when in reality, it's like I can understand that Black Lives Matter. It's like, okay, it might be misguided in the fact that we already have so many civil rights laws, but you're not going to march off a cliff with that unless you're doing something stupid and illegal. Same with the LGBTQ stuff. It's like, okay, you can protest for rights for gays. They already have all the rights, so it's like, but you're not going to march off a cliff. But if you're protesting in favor of Hamas, it's like, okay, this is like, that's a little too far. This is not something that's going to end well for you if you become a terrorist or support the terrorists. It's like, but it's just another cause, and they feel good about themselves, and they'll move on to it.
Sticks. They're trying to find a cause that they can throw against the wall.